Hello there and welcome back to some more Gran Turismo 5. Today we'll continue on with Let's Play. This is episode 32. In today's episode we are taking a look at the AMG Driving Academy Intermediate difficulty in the Special Events tab. So let's go ahead and get into it. This unlocks at level 12, and instead of featuring the old 300 SL which we had to drive around in the beginner section, now we have to drive around an SLS AMG with a wing on it for some reason. Anyways, let's get into this. Of course, if you do not remember, the AMG Driving Academy is essentially how to learn the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So you go sector by sector, getting the trophies throughout each, and then at the end of it you do one complete long run of the Nürburgring. Now, if you have watched the previous episode on the AMG Driving Academy, this episode will be very much a lot of the same thing. I turn off traction control because it makes things easier. Track knowledge is pre-required for gold, but track knowledge, I guess you can gain it through these tests if you wish. However, I sort of know the Nürburgring, having driven it for the last, god, how long ago did Gran Turismo 4 come out? Several years, 15, 16, 17 years I've known the Nürburgring, so I sort of know what I'm doing, not as much as most other people do, but I know enough to know relatively where stuff is. I get lost a bit in sector 3 to 4, but, you know, that's besides the point. So track knowledge is sort of required. Corner cutting isn't a disqualification. That should also be made very clear from the start. So if you don't know the Nürburgring so well, or if, like me, you don't like the Nürburgring and aren't very good at it, then that's something good to know. You can just corner cut your way to success. Sector 1, can't really do that very well. Sector 1's very easy for me because I have a lot of experience with it through Gran Turismo 6. I believe had some like license challenge test where you had to drive through there. I had to do it quite a lot, so I sort of know my way around there. Also, 84 grand for each gold you get during this, so a lot of money can be made here. It does certainly have to be said, as with a lot of special events, they are definitely worth doing. Sector 2 has a big cut at Anderfrost, which of course means we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that we can just corner cut with no abandon. Apparently I managed to do this first time round. This hill section is a little bit complicated, however, if you break into here and then just go straight on, you can either go straight on there and try and get around the mound, or you can just go straight on here. And unlike the 300 SL, you can carry a fair bit more speed over the grass. However, unlike the 300 SL, you do have an awful lot less control when you've come off of that corner cut, so just be aware of that. As usual, Rhino GT4 will tell you how to do this properly with his years of experience, and I will tell you how to do it the way you're going to do it, which is just by cutting the course. Sorry, I think the only time I ever did anything properly at the Nürburgring was Mission 34, because I really wanted to do that legitimately, which was a bad idea in hindsight. That was 5 hours of my life that I'll never get back, but that was back when 5 hours of my life wasn't really worth much. Not like it's worth much now, but there we go. Anyways, it's worth more now, let's put it that way. Anyways, yeah. Other than that, Sector 2, pretty straightforward. Just bear in mind there's two corners that are kind of identical around here, which have these sort of concrete runoff areas around there. Can't quite remember what corners they are, but they're about. Smash into a wall if you want for effect. Of course, this being Gran Turismo, grass and barriers don't really slow your momentum down all that much, so it doesn't matter too much. It's just a case of trying to get it back onto the road. I think we're coming up towards the end here, one of those weird right turn kink things, and towards the line with a second and a bit to spare, and you've got to admit that was a pretty terrible run, so yeah, not exactly the most difficult thing in the world, it has to be said. So there we go, that's all the money rolling in. On to the next sector, Sector 3, arguably the hardest, or at least it is for me, because this is the sector I personally get lost in. This is the sector where you have the carousel in, and then I know the Nürburgring pretty well up to the carousel, and then after the carousel I sort of get a bit lost because that's where most of the corners are, and it becomes a little bit of a joke. But at least down this main straight, things aren't particularly difficult. Just remember, unlike the SL, this here isn't a flat out bit of track. You do actually need to brake. I dropped down to 4th gear. You could probably do it in 5th if you carry a decent amount of momentum, but there you go. This section is actually quite fun, on the limit into a hard braking zone here. Try and get this corner right, which is often a challenge, especially if you're doing this in Gran Turismo 7 with the circuit experience, which I do not like very much. Anyways, you got a carousel here. Carousel isn't too bad actually. There's a license test involving the carousel in an F40, which is ridiculously easy to gold. So either I'm really good at the carousel, or the carousel is just very easy in this game. I'm not actually quite sure which one it is. Anyways, these are all the corners where I get a little bit lost on. Technically, you can cut over there. Don't really recommend it because it's not like you're going to make too much time up. This is where the track gets a little bit squirrely. Do you brake for here? Do you lift off for here? I have no fucking clue. Just sort of ride the curbs. If I remember rightly, there is a license test in GT4 that involves this place with an RX-7, so I know this place a little bit better than I did previously. This is a corner where you... Basically, the finish line here is very, very close. So what I would suggest to do is probably take all of the speed in the world around that corner, because with the finish line being so close, you can just afford to like just YOLO it and just gun it like there's no tomorrow. That's the way I'd do it personally, but of course it's entirely up to you. Next up, we move on to Sector 4, which is my weakest section. However, there is a decent cut available right at the end. So this is where I get really, really lost when it comes to the Nürburgring. Sort of all these sections leading towards the straight. Even if I'm on for like the time of my life around here, this will sort of be the part where it starts falling apart. Several angry Forza Rivals sessions can probably tell you that about me. Yeah, not a fun part of the track, but there we go. So this stuff's all just corners, varying degrees of difficultness. Keep the throttle pinned if you've got the chesticles. There is a bit of runoff there on the grass. If you do not have the chesticles, or have too many chesticles and fall off the track, the Schwanzwanzer corner is there. It's just, there's nothing to say about these AMG I'm sorry, once you do one, you've done them all. Glankropf is there, so that's something. Ran a little bit wide over the grass there. Don't really recommend doing that. Anyways, now you've got a long straight to really think about what you've done and how you could have done that last sector so much better. That is essentially the way that one goes. But alas, we're just going to keep speeding down here. The rear wing on this car probably robs some of its top speed. I don't know how quick an SLS is normally. I'd imagine it's a 200 mph car. Going into this left king here. And now, depends on how brave you are. I was very brave here and just send it round here. Big cut there. Technically you could cut there. I did a pirouette, but it worked out quite nicely because this was still a gold time, believe it or not. Again, this is a little bit of a joke. Get a slide out of there, very, very important, and across the line. And there you go. 0.8 seconds to spare. That was truly, to be fair, I thought I was going to brick it in that final section. But as you can see, we managed to do it. To be fair, the time allowances with the SLS are actually pretty nice. I'd say the time's actually a little bit better than it was in the 300 SL. Anyways, once you've completed all 4 sectors, we will then go on to a full lap of the Nürburgring complete with AI cars, and the way to do this is just put all of your skills to the test in the previous sectors. Now, as I have previously discussed those sectors, I'm not going to discuss them again. I will join you towards the end of the lap, so enjoy this sounds only lap of the Nürburgring. Okay, so we are back on board. I didn't watch any of the previous lap. While it was a good lap, or while I drive terribly, I don't know which one it is. Anyways, we're coming to the final bit. Do our nice cut through there. Are we going to do a pirouette this time? Oh, we're going to save it just about. Although we are going to crash heavily into the barrier, but it won't really matter because we managed to do this. It's pretty generous on the time it gives you, which is very nice. And we managed to complete our full lap of the Nürburgring with 1.5 seconds to spare. And we've got a Mercedes A160 in front of us, which I'm surprised didn't fall over throughout the entire lap, as they are prone to do so. Anyways, now that that is done, apparently I managed to... Oh, I was... Jesus, I must have been pretty angry when I failed to do this by 0.3 of a second, but there we go. Anyways, now that we are done with all of that, let's go ahead and take a look at our prize cars. So, for the bronze, we get the ability to drive around the 4-hour endurance layout, whoopsie-doo. For silver, we get a 190E Evolution, and for gold, we get the CLK LM, which pretty much breaks this game a little bit, because this event is available from level 12. It's not massively difficult to beat it, and for doing it you get a full-blown race car, which quite frankly is a Gran Turismo all-star. It can keep up with the prototypes. Yeah, I wouldn't say you've won the game with this car, but it's a pretty fucking good car. I think you can even put a turbocharger on it and make it good. Anyways, there's the 190E. It's not the touring car, so I don't really care about it all that much. A decent sports saloon, but nothing particularly to write home about. And there is the CLK LM, 677 PP points, 700 horsepower, proper mental thing, and yeah, just a really, really good car. A car that you can win a hell of a lot of events in this game, so that's how to do it efficiently. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. Next time, we're going to be taking a look at the Grand Tour in the special event, so join us for that. Until then, farewell.